Good evening and welcome to Serious Sleep, a webinar on sleeping your way to the top. My name is Stewart Fleming. I am a leadership coach, and this is a webinar provided by the Australian Small Business Advisory Services, ASBAS, or as they're calling it now, Digital Solutions. It's an initiative that is sponsored by the federal government and then also by Regional Development Australia and of course Business Station. So tonight I am going to be talking about sleep and specifically how to get the most out of it, what it does for you, and let's move on. If you guys, I see that Sandy has joined us. If you've got any questions, please put them in the chat window. If you're playing along at home on watching the recording, you don't get to do that, so sorry, but please have a pen and paper handy to take notes about what we talk about tonight. Not so much because I want you to copy everything and you know, write everything out, but because there is going to be ideas that appeal to you and then some that don't. So I want you to take away from tonight the bits that are going to work for you. So let's set some sleepy expectations. What are we going to do tonight? Well, I'm going to cover off some of the benefits of serious sleep. I'm going to talk about it in depth and what serious sleep deprivation looks like. So one of the things that I talk about quite a lot is the idea that if it's important, you should be measuring it. And I'll give you a tool for measuring sleep deprivation, or at least the quality of your sleep. We're going to look at the serious sleep indicators. I'm going to talk about some routines and building blocks for serious sleep. Then finally, I'm going to wrap up by giving you the tools that I've used over the years for conquering sleep and making sure that sleep absolutely works for me. Now, as I said, for those that are watching the recording, you don't get to do this, but if you are live, if you are there now, open up the chat window. I've seen that, I know that Natalie can hear me, but just give me a description of your sleep patterns at the moment. Is sleep something that is eluding you? Have you not been sleeping for years? Is sleep something that you get regularly, but you just want to improve? My goal for tonight is to give you as much help as I can to make sure that sleep from now on is your friend, that you sleep deeply and soundly whenever you choose. And the reason I say whenever you choose rather than each night is you may not choose to do it nightly. Some interesting things ahead. Welcome, Cheryl. I can see you're there. Please put something in the chat window so that I know that you can hear me okay. All right. While you're doing that, I'm going to keep moving. So, yep, Sandy can hear me. Excellent. I'll keep going. Now, I missed out this, but lastly, I am a coach. I'm a leadership coach. I do a lot of coaching. No, I can't hear you. So at the moment, the way webinars work is that it is a one-way street, I'm afraid, for webinars. When I first started doing this, they said, okay, well, you can either do a workshop, which is 2 hours and interactive, or a webinar, which is you basically delivering for an hour and it's not supposed to be interactive, but I want it to be interactive. So please type in the chat window and I'll try and answer every question that you have. As I was saying, I am a leadership coach, and for me, there will be homework. Do the homework, don't do the homework. If you do the homework, I can guarantee it will be of benefit to you. All right. If there are any questions on any of that, which I can't imagine there are, but there will be questions later, please type them in as quick as you can so that you halt the steam train that is my presentation. Let's talk about some benefits of actually being able to conquer sleep. Firstly, sleep is a factor for willpower. Your willpower is an exhaustible resource and it is recharged by sleep, which is why if you've ever been on a diet or tried to make hard decisions or stick to something, you'll find that in the afternoons, that's when things start to fall apart, or the evenings, because you've used your willpower through the day. And by the end of the afternoon, your willpower is gone. Okay. This isn't a secret. It isn't, you know, some new breakthrough. We've known about this for years, that willpower is recharged by good sleep. So what we'll see is some of the other sleep benefits is you'll see that coming out, that story coming out again. Emotional stability. You've all seen kids, I'm not tired. What's happening? What's happening is that emotionally they're exhausted and they're connecting with that, and that brings an instability. If any of you, these things sound like some of the things that you're coming up against, please let me know. More creativity. Now, this is an interesting one because it's different to willpower, but creativity actually comes from the fact that you can free your mind to put together other connections. Now, I do know that this isn't a hard and fast rule, because there are some people who get very, very creative the more tired they get, because their brains start making crazy connections. But on the whole, in general, creativity is from well-rested people rather than the other way around. Productivity. I am a proponent of massive productivity. I try and squeeze as much out of every single day as I can without being exhausted. Productivity does not mean that I want you to work and work and work and never get any sleep. In fact, this whole presentation was about the fact that you need sleep. It's an essential part. If I have a client come in to me, and I said at the front, I do a lot of leadership coaching. If I have a client that starts crying in a session, and it does happen quite a lot, the question isn't why are you crying? The question is, how are you sleeping? The reason is that you'll probably find that they're crying for a very good reason. But isn't that reason big enough to cause them to cry? Or is it that they are just highly emotional at the moment because they are tired and there's a good reason? The sleep one is the one I'd want to fix first. Okay? Because sleep gives you better decision making, more creativity, more productivity, higher emotional stability. It also gives you reduced stress. So there's a massive amount of reasons why you should get some really good sleep. The biggest one that I find, though, is this idea of time in peace. And I use the term very specifically. When you are peaceful in yourself. Now, you can be very peaceful and very busy. Those two things are not against each other. So peace, the way I'm using the word peace there, is that you are at ease within yourself. You can be really busy and still be at ease in yourself. And I find that pretty much every single one of my clients is looking for whatever it is that they're looking for in order to gain peace. Peace seems to be the deep thing that everybody is looking for. And if you can get that by getting some really good sleep, or at least move towards that more, and that's why I say more time in peace. I'm not saying that you are going to be completely zen because you've slept well, but what I will say is it allows you to spend more time in peace. Before I move on, are there any other benefits or detrimental things from not getting sleep or lack of sleep that you're personally experiencing? Is there any questions that you have on any of the benefits that I have listed there? Don't be shy, please type in. I do like it to be interactive. I hate just presenting to silent people. I don't hate it because I don't hate anything, but I really prefer it when I can talk to people and I have some sort of interaction. Or late night munchies. I do love a bit of late night munchie myself. So we're going to talk about that one. In terms of a benefit of late night munchies, is there a benefit? Can anyone think of a benefit for late night munchies? Depending on what it is, your late night munchies could actually help you sleep better. If your late night munchies is, you can turn it to Horlicks or sometimes whole cream milk, chai, something that doesn't have caffeine, sugars, and high in fat, then late night munchies might be cool. But if it's bad diet choice for late night munchies, probably not. That's very cool. I'm going to keep going then. So let's talk about deprivation and the indicators for deprivation. So you're not sleeping. And the reason I go through this is not because I'm trying to teach you stuff that you already know, but I want you to be able to spot this in other people and stuff as well, okay? Because one of the big things is you're not the only person who can't sleep, or at some point in your life, you go through a period where sleep is hard to get. So let's talk about some deprivation indicators: anxiety, irritability, mood swings. If you spot any of that yourself, the question is, how well are you sleeping? Or in somebody else, short attention span, reduced concentration. You see, it's kind of just mirroring the benefits, isn't it? Brain fog. Who gets brain fog when they get tired? Or low motivation, reduced reaction time. There was a study done 2 years ago on the reaction time for sleepy people. And what it was looking at was saying that being sleepy is even worse than being drunk, because your reaction time drops right down. So do you need super fast reaction time during a business day? Well, probably not. It's not life or death that you make a decision now. But if you could react faster, it would certainly speed up your day. If you had better motivation and no brain fog, if you could make better decisions. Deprivation indicators: hunger, hence maybe the munchies. Poor memory, fixation. Who wants to have a guess what fixation is? And simple mistakes. But fixation, does anyone want to have a bit of a punt? Either of those playing along live tonight want to have a punt on what fixation? There is a gold star in it for you if you can work out what, or at least have a punt at what fixation is. That's assuming you haven't all wandered off and found something better to do. Absolutely right, Natalie. Perfect. Gold star to you. So it really is the idea of not letting something go. You fixate on something. Now watch this in yourself. One of the things that I teach is the very first thing that I teach for people trying to move forward and try to be high performance is know yourself, know thyself. If you spot that you're fixating, firstly, you've got to know it exists. So I mean, the first step is, hi, I'm Steve, I'm an alcoholic, right? Step one, admitting that there's a problem. Now that you know that fixation is an issue that could be caused by sleep, if you spot it, see if it is related to sleep or something else. If you spot poor memory, brain fog, short attention span, extra anxiety, is it because of sleep? Now, I know for some of you, you 100% know it's because of sleep deprivation. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here tonight. Difficulty waking up. Who leaps out of the bed ready to fire into every single day? Are you guys quick risers? Never. Fair enough. So I'm not saying that that is something that you necessarily need to be able to do, but to be able to do it when you need to is fantastic. All right. So I can teach you these skills. These are all learnable skills. Okay. Let's talk about some of the inhibitors, the things that stop you sleeping. I put this image there when I rewrote this last week, and now I realize that that image is kind of spooky. I always think those eyes are kind of scary looking at you like that. Not sure I'm entirely happy about that. Might have to change that image. So let's talk about some serious sleep indicators. Busy brain, number one on the list. Now, busy brain can be caused by anxiety. It can be caused because you're excited. Hey, I can't sleep, I'm so excited. I can't sleep, I'm so anxious. I can't sleep, I'm so scared. Which is your busy brain? Who has busy brain? If you have busy brain, type busy brain. What about that you're still plugged in? I can't let go stuff. I'm still got it in my head and it's running round and round and round. I can't let go. My business is so busy, blah, blah, blah. If you are still plugged in, type plugged in. If you are on both of those things, type both of them. But wait, there's more. What about a poor environment? Who's got one of these? I pinched this off my wife. Well, firstly, I shouldn't be snoring. And secondly, I can't see a single solitary photon of light. Nothing. The only thing I've got is dots in front of my eyes from staring at the screen and looking at you guys. Oh, by the way, I can't see you. That's just spooky. So, night mask. Set up your environment. Who has a poor environment? Loud noises. Is that what's keeping you awake? Who has a poor diet? Late night munchies. Don't have a second cup of coffee late at night, like obviously. But also look at what else it could be. Who has not enough exercise? Well, unless you are an elite athlete, that's everybody, right? But enough for what? So if you find that you get jumpy legs, if you find that you are, your heart rate is going reasonably fast while you're lying in bed, one of the reasons for that will be that you still have too much adrenaline in your system. We're going to talk about that, but exercise throughout the day will help reduce that overload in the evenings. Everyone knows you have a big, heavy day, you sleep well, right? Kids will sleep well tonight. We've all heard that, right? Poor routines. We are creatures of habit. That is a good thing. We could not survive if we were not creatures of habit. There is no way you can learn to drive a car every time you get in one. It's too complex. You cannot do it. Therefore, you must build habits. Putting on your clothes is too complicated. I know it sounds really simple, right? But it's not. It's massively complicated. You have to decide which leg goes in which piece of clothing first. You have to decide all of this stuff. If you couldn't do it by routine, you couldn't do it at all. So you absolutely need routines. We're built to do it, but poor routines lead to poor results. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So we've got a couple with busy brains, a couple that are still plugged in. I know we've got a couple that have poor diet. I'm assuming that because I don't see any names that I recognize as Olympic athletes, that not enough exercise may be in there as well. So let's have a look at some of the things that we can do in terms of this routine. Let's start with that one. Does that sound cool for you guys? Wow, you're not going to type fast enough, so I'm just going to move on. Awesome. Right, let's have a look at some sleep routines. Step number 1, breathe. Oh, come on, Stu, really? Breathing? Yeah, breathing. Breath, inspirare, to breathe, inspiration, breath. It's a really crazy process, breathing, really is. It's completely mental. You wouldn't come up with it yourself if you were designing a system. Breathing wouldn't be involved, but it is, and we've inherited it and we've got it, so use it. Step 1, breathe. I'm going to be talking to you about breath for in the tools, but for now, step 1, breathe. Set it down. Put your busy brain down. So I'm going to move reasonably quickly through this because I want to get to the tools that show you how to do all of this stuff. Create a routine for yourself. What is your routine? Now, some of you may already know, but I was a single parent. I raised my son just after his first birthday, and now he's like, I don't know, 20, 22, soon to be 23, doing law. So obviously I did okay. What we created was a routine. The routine says you do this, then you do this, then you do this, then you do this. And if you create a routine that is comfortable, the routine lasts. Now, the routine for Jack and I came from my grandmother. My grandmother, when I went to stay at my grandmother's place, because I did not sleep well at home, but when I went to my grandmother's place, we would say our prayers at the end of the bed. We would kneel at the end of the bed and we would say our prayers together. And then we would get in and she would tuck me in. She would give me one kiss on the forehead and she would turn the light off and she would go and do the dishes. And I suspect that she was doing that so that I could hear she was still active and still doing things and that I was safe. And I would sleep well. And so I really treasured that as a memory. And so I created exactly the same sort of thing for my son. We had a very set routine that involved saying our prayers. We would read a little bit of a book. We would tuck him in, give him a kiss, turn the lights out. We've worked towards going to sleep. Sleep is not just, hey, lie down, go to sleep. That's not to say you can't do that. In fact, I'm going to show you actually how to do that. But routine is going to be a friend as you learn this stuff. Write it all down. So firstly, set it down, but also write it all down. You are all, I can guarantee you, carrying around things in your head that you do not need to. One of my jobs as a leadership coach is to get you to put it all down. Because the less you can carry around, the faster you're going to be able to react to stuff. Measure your results. If it's important, measure it. So, and I have a link here. Now, if you haven't worked out how to get to the chat window, you're about to miss out, because somewhere in here, or is it on the next slide? Somewhere in here, I actually have a link to the Pittsburgh, and you can look it up anyway. It's not a secret. The Pittsburgh Sleep Index. The Pittsburgh Sleep Index is a way of measuring your sleep and coming up with a result that you can compare against another sleep index, for example, you in a week's time. All right, there's the link, copy link address, and that's going in the chat window. All right, so I'm assuming that that you can all see that. I'm not entirely sure how you're going to say no if you can't get to the chat window. That one bamboozles me. If you can't get to the chat window, how will I know? You could click on the Q&A window and type something in there, I guess, if you can see the Q&A. And if you can't do any of those things, then email me and I will send it to you. Or just type in Pittsburgh Sleep Index. I think it's the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index will give you what you need. All right, so let's keep going. But it is one of the things that I say an awful lot, that if it's important, you measure it, measure your results. Use the tools that work for you when they're necessary. Now, why would I bother telling you that? That seems pretty obvious. But the reason I'm telling you is that you're going to go through different stages in life. You're going to be good at something and then bad at something. You're going to have no sleep and then some sleep and then lots of sleep. Use the tools that work for you when you need to. And when you don't need to, put them down for a while until you need them again. That's what tools are for. I'm not giving you stuff that you need to do all the time. So your routines will actually change over time. Well, I would hope they will. I hope you get better at this. If there are no questions on any of this, I'm going to move on. Remember, you can just keep firing questions at me. So let's talk about some serious building blocks. Your cycle. All right, we've not talked about cycle yet. I've been talking about benefits and I've been talking about indicators, but I actually haven't talked about your sleep cycle. So I'm not going to go into depth on this, but your cycle runs in 24-hour segments. And so understanding when you are going to sleep, when you are waking up, and what the 12-hour difference is going to be to your deep sleep point is going to be useful. So if you go to sleep at 10 o'clock, for example, and you wake up at 5 every morning, that gives you a good solid 7 hours. Then you're probably in deep sleep around the 2:30 mark. So it's about 2/3 into your sleep. Sometimes it'll be a little bit later. So if that 2:30 marks, let's assume that you are a 10 till 5 sleeper. That would mean that at 2:30, the others in the afternoon, you're going to start getting very tired because your body is going in saying, hey, like this is my time. That's going to be important when we do the breathing exercises. But understand your cycle. Are you an early morning person or a late night person? And do you want to be the other one? I have shown people how to convert from being early birds to night owls and from night owls to early birds. Right? You can absolutely change it if you so choose. Just because you're an early bird does not mean you cannot be a night owl if that's what's necessary. Okay. The reason I say this, I don't want you to think that because you're one thing, you cannot be something else. All right. Some building blocks for serious sleep: be prepared. Have a pen and paper by the table. If you need to write stuff down, if busy brain is one of your things, you're going to be needing to write stuff down. So be prepared. If you know you're going to go to sleep at a certain time, but the lights are going to be on, grab yourself one of these night masks. If the environment is something that haunts you, if that's something that slows your sleep. Can you chop and change? Great question, Natalie. Can you chop and change between the two, being early bird versus night owl? Look, absolutely. It is 100% possible. It is a fairly large chunk of work though, and I would avoid doing it where possible. The reason being that you have to retool. So one of the things that I talk about in productivity webinars is the idea that you should not multitask. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Multitasking requires you to retool your brain. Every time you pick up change tasks, you're retooling your brain. There is a cost to that. And you'll know that yourself if you've ever gotten to this loop of I did nothing today, because you just spent all the time switching between tasks and not actually achieving any of them. So switching between early bird and night owl, it absolutely can be done. I wouldn't do it every week. I guess you could probably learn to do it really quickly. I'd be concerned about the health benefits of that. I wouldn't recommend anyone try that, but hey, look, I do crazy stuff, so maybe. If it's something that you want to try, I'm happy to write out a program to allow you to try and do that, but we want to monitor the effects. Create your environment. So, look, yeah, if it was needed, you absolutely, look, I've done late night shifts and then early morning shifts, and I've switched shifts, and graveyard shifts for 3 or 3 nights in a row, and then you start with an early shift. You can absolutely do it. And in fact, that was one of the testing grounds for some of these sleep techniques. But create your environment. What is the best environment for you to sleep? What is the best environment? So and this is a fairly old story now, it was a couple of years back, I did a silent retreat at the Buddhist temple in Underwood Park, the Chechen temple, and it was awesome. And they talked about, so while it was a silent retreat, we weren't allowed to talk, but they were. But it was all about meditating and being in your space and stuff. But at the end of it, when we were allowed to talk, I asked one of the monks, do you ever go out and meditate in a non-ideal environment? And the answer was no, I don't. To me, that's not being good at meditation. Being good at meditating is meditating at a preschool after red cordial hour. You can meditate there. You can meditate in the middle of a busy highway. Meditating, doing things under stress is the point. So while I want you right now to improve your sleep patterns, to create an ideal environment, I also want you at some point, as you start to get better at this, if you really want to be a serious sleeper, then I want you to be able to sleep standing up. I want you to be able to sleep when people are screaming at you. I want you to be able to sleep when the world is crashing around your ears. That's how you prove you can do it, not when it's always perfect. But we're going to start by making it easy by creating a nice environment. I kind of, I suspect that isn't what that people expect from me when I talk about sleep. I want you to be able to do it when it's tough, not when it's easy. But you start by making it easy for yourself so you can learn good behavior. Put stuff down. We've talked about that, and I'm going to physically show you how to do that. That's really, really important. Of course, we've already said it before. I'm saying it again here. Measure your results. So you can use the Pittsburgh Sleep Index, or you could just say scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is terrible and 10 is I feel like I'm jumping out of bed and leaping out of my skin. How do I feel? And measure it day in, day out, every week. Measure it for 3 weeks. Are there patterns? What's happening? What's going on? Is it part of the menstrual cycle that's slowing you down? Is it the mood, the phases of the moon? Is it the mood of somebody in the house? Are you an empath? So empathic people, we're built to feel other people's emotions. That's the way we learn. We have a mimic center of our brain, and we're built for this. But if you're super sensitive, you may be picking up on somebody else's emotions, and that may be preventing you from sleep. So measure your results will help you identify where things are going wrong. All right, let's get to the nuts and bolts, yeah? We've had a good chat. Pretty much. I've given you some ideas and some thoughts. I've asked you to explore what sleep means for you. The whole point of all of those slides was to get you to understand in your brain what good sleep will do for you, what bad sleep looks like, and what we can do. Now we're going to talk about some actual tools. So this is the bit I just wait for. Your environment. Okay, I just spoke a little bit about that. So what do you need it dark? Do you need a soft pillow, a hard pillow? What do you need? What is your ideal? Write it out. Actually take the time to write out what the environment is. If you can sleep anywhere at any time and the environment isn't one of those issues, fantastic. Congratulations, you have passed the environment test. If it's not, start with working out what is ideal, and then start to see what kinds of things you can do to change it and still sleep well. As I said, sleeping in an ideal environment, fantastic. Anyone can do that. Meditating when everybody's being quiet around you, anyone can do that. Meditating in a daycare center after red cordial o'clock, good luck, mate. You are getting hit in the head with everything they can find. They're running, they're screaming, they're pulling on each other, probably on you. One kid just vomited. Meditate. Be in the moment. Let everything else go. Can be done. Sleeping when you absolutely have to is really, really important. I would much rather teach you to sleep when you want to rather than sleep when you need to. All right, so write down your environment. Write down what it is that you absolutely need, and then start to take things out. Start to change it. Now, there is a bunch of tools here, and I actually want you to write these ones down, because if you, for some reason, you don't get the recording or whatever, this is the goal, right? Because the rest of the stuff just was setting your brain up to accept this stuff. But only tackle one of these things at a time, all right? If you really want to be good at sleeping, you'll want to cross off every single one of these. Now, if you can already sleep in any environment, cross it off. If you can't, decide, is that what you want to work on first? As I say, this idea of sleep and conquering it and using it as a way that you can be more creative, that you can make faster decisions, that you can be peaceful, that your health isn't going to benefit, isn't going to suffer. I can tell you, if you are stressed for a long period of time, you will 100% get sick. It'll come out in some way. But if you're peaceful, you'll still get sick. I'm not saying it is guaranteed that you'll never get sick, but it won't be stress related. Let's talk about bookmarking. Any questions on environment before I move on to bookmarking? Keep an eye on that chat window as we go. But if you do have questions, I know you can hear me now. So if you haven't gone to make a cup of tea and you do have a question about the environment, please put it in. Let's talk about bookmarking. Now, bookmarking was a tool I developed because one of my trades is software development. I write code. I have a couple of IT degrees, and I have had many businesses that are IT related. But for me, I'm not so much a hardware jockey or a line runner, someone who runs cables and stuff, or a network boy. I'm a coder. I write software. And working at Queensland Treasury for a while, the Queensland government department called Treasury, I was working on some fairly complicated code, and someone would come up and say, "Hey, Stu, have you got a moment?" Now, for me, with all of the environmental variables I have in my head right now, with all the variables in my head, if I stop, it's going to take me ages to put all that back, and I might miss something. And so I started this process of, hang on a second, and before I give you my attention, I am going to dump everything in my head about where I'm currently at onto paper. So I will now this only needs to make sense to me, okay? But this is called bookmarking. I am going to dump where I am on the current task onto paper so that my relaxed brain, when it comes back to this and has not thought about it between now and when it picks it up, can pick it up easily. Where am I at? Now, for complex things like coding, I might write, 7 variables and a couple of pointers, and this is where I'm at, and I must remember to do this and clean up that, and do this, and then my next thing was going to be this. Once I've written that down, yes, what do you want? Because I know that I can go on holiday now and come back and pick up where I left off. Bookmarking is so important that I've actually developed a whole system to teach it now. So lawyers that I coach in Beverly Hills in the States, in LA, they like to do crazy amounts of focused work, so 4 hours at a time. Now, if they get distracted, it was ruining that whole flow that they had. So what we did, we actually put in place random interruptions so they could practice bookmarking, because interruptions are going to happen. Now, one of the benefits of bookmarking is that, from time to time, you might like to take a day off. Great. Before you finish, before the day off, bookmark, put down where you're at. Give future you the best chance of success by telling future you what they need to do first. There may come a time when you actually want to take a holiday. Right. Before you take a holiday, tell a relaxed version of you, because that's who's going to come back from a holiday, what they need to do on day one. It's great. It really is an awesome idea. So for holidays, for weekends, for days off, for interruptions, bookmarking. Write down where your brain is right now. It's a skill. Just because I've told you doesn't mean you can do it. Just because you watch Bruce Lee movies doesn't mean you can do Kung Fu. You need to practice. So in these ideas, if bookmarking is the first thing you'd like to be really good at and cross off, go ahead and practice it. Practice it under pressure. The moment you've got something really busy going on, bookmark it, walk away, go make a cup of coffee. See if you can not think about it. See if you can actually put it down. Any questions on bookmarking before I go on? Does that sound like a useful skill to have up your sleeve? All quiet on the chat front. think I slowly put them all to sleep. I actually had a professor at one of my, for my second degree, I was at QUT in Gardens Point, and I had a professor for digital, what was it? Digital communication strategies theory or something. It was the most boring subject you could possibly imagine. The lecture, because I was going as a part-time student or a mature age student, was in Friday night at, I don't know, I think it was 7 o'clock it started. It went from 7 till 9. And he spoke like this, in a monotone, very straightforward. Just keep going. And then the satellite will see. Honestly, he was reading a book to put you to sleep. It was awful. So I had to sit in the front row to stay awake. I know everyone behind me was asleep. But bookmarking, bookmark stuff. Let's move on. Routine. How good is your routine and how can you change it and make it work for you? You want a routine that starts off just giving you good sleep. So if things get really tough and you're working on environment, don't work on environment and routine at the same time. Do not work on bookmarking and routine at the same time. Get one of these things working well for you, then work on the next one. If you can get good routine and your bookmarking isn't working well, or you're running into adrenaline problems, which we'll cover in a minute, or you're running into something else, then you can go back to routine to get the good sleep that you need so that you can try again tomorrow night. You need to be able to come back to a safe space. So get one of these things working well, and then you can experiment and go nuts with other stuff. Journaling. Journaling is a very specific tool. When I first came across journaling, and I think it was like, I don't know, 2001, 2002, I was so excited about it. I was going to write a book about it. I was going to do a research project. And then I realized that when I did some investigation, that there were already like 15,000 books on journaling. So I'm going to talk about journaling very specifically, though, the way that I use journaling. Journaling is vomiting onto paper without editing. It must be done with a pen or pencil. You must use your hand. You must not type. Typing uses different parts of your brain, and the parts of your brain that I want to use are controlled. There's a stronger connection between the hand when you're writing than when you're typing. So you're going to write this stuff out. If you can't write for great periods of time, then you're going to learn. Okay, or you're going to journal for a bit, then put it down, and then journal for a bit more. The hardest part about journaling as I teach it is that they're not allowed to edit. So you only have 2 rules. One is you journal till you don't want to journal anymore. You might be bored with it. You might feel you've done enough. Your hand might be too sore, or you just might run out of ink. And the second one is that you date the top of your page or where you start to write. Where you start to journal, put the date down. It needs to be anchored in time. That's it, and no editing. So what does no editing mean? It means that you write every single thought that goes through your head. And if, like me, when I started, I was not a fast writer, which means my brain must slow to the speed of my pen. If you find that you're journaling and that you've stopped writing, means either you've stopped thinking, congratulations, or more likely, you've broken the connection between the hand and the mind. So journaling with intent, journaling the way Stu teaches it, is journaling without editing. If you think my hand hurts, you write my hand hurts. If you think journaling sucks and Stewart should go to hell, you write journaling sucks and Stewart should go to hell. And then whatever the next thought is, you keep writing it. This isn't easy. This really is not easy, okay? It is a skill that it will serve you well. Journaling allows you to dump, and it allows, so bookmarking is specifically I want my brain to be picking up this and be able to work on it next. Journaling is I'm putting everything in my brain onto a piece of paper. If you are looping, or as I called it, fixating. If you are fixating on something, write it down. If you think the same thought again, write it down again. I have in one of my journals an entire page of fucks. You have to be pretty dedicated to write an entire page of fucks. I wasn't doing it because I wanted to be dedicated. I was doing it because that's where my brain was at the time, and I couldn't move to the next thought. I was so horrified and so shocked by all the things that had gone on that all I could think of was fuck, 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 fuck. And I'd get to the end of the first line, I'm like, fuck. I write another line. Do I want to stop yet? No, I'm still massively shocked. So what will happen is your brain will not want to keep writing the same thing. It will force your brain out of the loop because you've journaled it. You've done it again and again and again and again until your brain says, I want to write what's next. I am sick to death of writing this. And the brain-pen connection will force your mind to jump out of that rut and move on to something else. That's journaling. I would suggest that you learn the skill. So if I said right now there's an absolute emergency and you must drive this car to the hospital and you've never learned to drive, it's a pretty terrible time to learn to drive, right? Same with journaling. Learn it when things aren't so terrible, so that when things do get bad, you can journal as well. You've already got the skill. It's there when you need it. Don't always journal when things are bad either. Journal when things are good too, just occasionally. But remember, it is a tool. It's there for when you need it if you have practiced it. Tying your shoelaces, it's there because you've practiced it when you need it. You may only wear slip-ons from now on, but if you ever needed to, it's there when you need it. Does that make sense to you guys? Is it a tool that you think that you might use? Or have you all just gone to sleep? Excellent. A couple of people are still awake. Well done. My wife just thought it was absolutely hilarious that I'm actually running the Serious Sleep webinar at night. She said, everyone's going to be asleep at the end of it. And that's okay. It means I've done my job, I guess. Breathing exercises. All righty. Woohoo! We got there. So, breathing. It's important, yes? Of course. But I'm not talking about just specifically breathing. I'm talking about breathing in specific patterns. So the pattern that I want you to write down, grab your pen. You're going to write this down. The pattern is 1, 4, 2. 1, 4, 2. That is the pattern. All right. So the way this works is that your lymphatic system does not have a pump. Okay, the muscles in your body help you move the lymph, the toxins and the waste products from your cells around your body. And one of the biggest muscles that helps do that is your diaphragm and breathing. So for the blood, we have a heart, it pumps, it does a whole bunch of other stuff, which we won't talk about right now, but it pumps and obviously your blood needs to move around, but so does the waste products. And this breathing pattern is going to help you move this stuff around. So breathing in 1, 4, 2 pattern. So you breathe in for a count of 1, but that doesn't mean 1. That means just the pattern of 1. So you may breathe in and it may take 4 seconds. So if I've breathed in for 4 seconds, how long do you think I'm going to hold my breath for? If the pattern is 1, 4, 2, gold star for whoever gets in first. I've breathed in for 4 seconds. The pattern is 1, 4, 2. How long will I hold my breath? We have a 2. No, that's not correct. We have a 16, which is correctamundo. Well done. Well done. A couple more 16s. Excellent. Well done. So it is in fact 16. The way I actually do it is personally is I breathe in for whatever the current count is, and then I hold that for 4 times that. If I'm going to hold it for 4 times that, and the pattern was 1, 4, 2, how long will I breathe out for? Now everyone should get this one now. I'm breathing in 1, 4, 2. That is correct. We are then breathing out for a count of 8. So at 4, breathing out, I should be halfway. And I find that that's a really good measure. If you are halfway through breathing a full breath in your lungs, if you are halfway out at 4, then you're on track. You get to the 8, you breathe straight in again. Do not hold your breath when it's out. Okay, 1, 4, 2. You will find that the first time you do it, don't take a massive breath in because you might, and then hold it for a long period because you might pass out. You'll get better at it as you go. I would recommend that you do at least 8 cycles of this, whatever it is. You do it. You can do it before bed. You can do it when you wake up in the morning. The best time to do it, though, is at the time that is the cycle clock, the opposite of when you are going to be in deep sleep. So if you're at deep sleep at 2 in the morning, you want to be doing this at 2 in the afternoon. Now, best practice, and I'm only going by this because the guys that helped me write the software started using it. But the oncologist actually suggested that this was going to be the case. So this was originally developed and worked on in a program that I was a part of called Sleep for Life. And it was developed in conjunction with Dr. Carlos Orozco. Carlos is an oncologist that works with end-of-life patients. So his patients, really, everyone else has given up on them. And so this breathing pattern was to help try and flush some of the crazy chemicals they were putting in the body to try and give them an extra few weeks of life. If it works for them, it's going to work for you. And so what happened was we wrote software that would say, breathe in, hold, breathe out, breathe in, hold, breathe out. And I've still got the software somewhere. And what you could do is you'd set it up for how many seconds you wanted on the breathe in, and then it would play that little audio clip of breathe out and hold at the appropriate time. Then you could set up how many cycles you wanted to do because, we were told that 8 was the best and we should probably aim for 10. And so we'd set it up for 10 cycles at 8 seconds in. Me personally, at the time, I was training quite hard. I've got a massive set of lungs because my mum was a swimming teacher. So I spent every afternoon after school at the bottom of the swimming pool. So I can hold my breath for a very long time. So for me, 8 seconds was no dramas. And so I was, breathing, at 8 and then holding for 64 seconds and then breathing out for 16 seconds. And I set this up for 10 cycles and I put it on. I was doing some work and it was saying, breathe in, hold, breathe out. And I kind of just tuned it out. I was obviously doing the breathing and I was working away, and then I felt really odd. And I'm looking around the room. Why do I feel so weird? I feel really bizarrely odd. And then I realized I wasn't breathing. I breathed out because it told me to breathe out and it had finished. And I'd been holding my breath, breathing out with no air in my lungs, I don't know for how long, but long enough for me to start to get brain swell. And oh yeah, breathe. So the next day we changed it and added, and breathe normally to the end of the program. So you can actually allow someone else to take over your own breathing pattern. I wouldn't recommend it. But this breathing pattern, if you can do it, so 12 hours, do it before night, do it if you feel tired, do it if you want some more creativity, do it. So there's the 12-hour period and then there's the 6 hours either side of that. So you can do it if you were doing it at say 2 o'clock, then you do it also at 8 o'clock, and then you do it at, what's that, 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's going to give you the 4 cycles, and then you're going to be doing it. You're telling your body to do this again, deep sleep at 2 o'clock. Thank you very much. Now, our cycles aren't 100%, okay? But you're giving yourself a really good chance. The breathing pattern is awesome. I'm going to keep moving because I realize I'm actually running out of time here. Sorry, I just love talking about that stuff. Adrenaline reduction. Does anyone have problems with excess adrenaline jumping into bed? If I don't get a yes to this, I'm not going to go through it. But if you do, I will quickly go through it. No problems there. Anybody? One person. All right, I'm going to go through it quickly then. All right, if you are, firstly, exercise. Getting into bed, one of the biggest things to help you get rid of excess adrenaline is to use it. So one of the ways you can use it is a squat. So the biggest muscle you've got in your body is not your quads, but your quads are like second, I think, maybe third. I think they're second. So a squat, just a deep knee bend and stand, do that a couple of times. That will help a small amount. The best way that I have found for reducing the adrenaline in your body very quickly is the hot cold shower. Get in the shower, turn it up as hot as you can handle, then remember where that setting is and slowly turn around so that your body is getting quite hot. I don't want you to burn yourself and I don't want you to go back to burning, but I want you to get it to a point where it's really quite hot. Then turn the hot water off, cold only. Keep turning. As you turn around at the tap again, turn it back. Once you've got your cold, keep turning, turn it up to hot. Once you are hot, which is usually 1 cycle, turn it back to cold. It will usually take you 2 cycles for your skin to react enough. What you'll actually start to feel is your skin doing this. Skin, the biggest organ that you've got, the biggest muscle that you've got, it takes a large amount of adrenaline to shrink all the capillaries at the edges of your skin. And it takes it is a little bit nasty, but what this does is it uses large amounts of adrenaline very quickly, and you can control it. Do that for say 3, if you can handle it, 5 cycles. I can guarantee you'll come out of the shower ready for sleep, exhausted. Now, general exercise through the day is going to be better than forcing your body to use its adrenaline by doing the shower technique. But the shower technique will absolutely work for you. Cold showers, we all, I don't know if we all know, but certainly anyone going to the Antarctic has ice baths and cold shower technique to help reduce them get flu. It absolutely helps with your immune system. So while you're doing this for adrenaline reduction is great, it's also really good just to have up your sleeve to know that you can do it. I always finish my showers cold every single day. I never not do it now. I feel great afterwards. Just, yeah, sure. My wife hates it, so I've got to make sure that I've turned it back to hot so that when she gets in, she doesn't get the extra cold water that I've just had. That's a price I'm willing to pay. That will help reduce your adrenaline, but regular exercise throughout the day is going to be even better than that. All right, I'm going to finish up. I have run over. I do apologize. Firstly, how are you sleeping? Measure it. Take one of those tools that you think you want to master and work on it. Measure it to improve it. What do you actually want to achieve? So I did say that there are, I did say very quickly that sleeping whenever you choose. I don't always just sleep at night. I also have naps, and I use naps specifically for certain things. If I get super stressed during the day and lots of things are going on and I start to feel like I'm losing the edge, I will actually go and have a 5-minute or a 10-minute nap. I can do 7 minutes, I can do 5, I can do 10. I regularly nap on the weekend. I will have a nap period, but rather than have a 45-minute period now, I do 3 15-minute periods. And at the end of the 15 minutes, the alarm goes off and I write down whatever has just come come through my head, and then I go straight back to sleep, and I can be asleep in 2 minutes or a minute. So why do I want to do that? Because I come up with amazing ideas doing that. Why do I want to be able to sleep whenever I can? Because sometimes I'm just going to need to. Why do I want to be able to sleep standing up? Well, I wouldn't recommend that one, but you can actually do it. But sometimes it may, for some weird reason, be necessary. I'm going to finish it there. So if you are still on the call, and I can see there's still quite a few people on the call, I'm going to stop the recording. Remember to check out what other ASBAS advisors are available, and I will see you on the next webinar.